Doing long division requires a few steps. First, you must be confident with your multiplication facts. Once you're confident with your multiplication facts, the next thing we want to work on is being able to estimate. This will save you lots of time when you're working long division problems. So for example, we've got 34 divided into 1,705. Instead of working with the full numbers, let's work with just the first numbers. Now, because 34, the second number isn't big enough to round up to 4 here, we're going to just work with the 3, okay? So we're going to consider working with just 3. And I would say, well, how many times could 3 go into 1? Well, 3 can't go into 1, so let's scoot it over and say, could it go into 17? Yes, it can. So we're going to think about 3 into 17. So our 3 multiplication facts, 3 times 5 is 15, 3 times 6 is 18. That's too much. So our estimate would be 5. Now we know in our margin of our paper, we would actually try out 34 times 5 and see if it's close, okay? But we're just focusing on the estimate today. So we would say that our estimate for this would be 5. Okay, so I'll write that here. So our first estimate would be 5. Let's try the next one. We've got 63 divided into 4,184. And again, I'm going to double check to see if I can leave it as just 6. The second number isn't enough to make the 6 go to 7. We know the rounding rule, if it's 5 or more, we would go up. So since it's not, we'll just keep our 6 and say, well, can 6 go into 4? And it can't. So we're going to try 41. So since it won't go into 4, go into 41. Think through our multiplication facts for 6. I know 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 6 is 36. That's close to 41. 6 times 7 is 42. That's too much. So our estimate will be 6. All right. Now again, this is just doing the first step of the process. Now, looking at 28. I would like to use 2, but because 8 is 5 or more, okay? So because the second number is 5 or more, instead of using 2, we're really going to estimate with 3, okay? So we're really going to be using 3 as our estimate. And that seems weird, but like I said, it's because we don't want to use 2 when 28 is so much closer to 30, okay? So we're going to think about 3 going into, well, 3 can actually go into 8. So we don't want to use 87. If the number can go into just the first digit, then we'll estimate with that. So we're thinking about how many times 3 can go into 8. So we're thinking through our 3 multiplication facts. I know that 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. That's too much. Okay? So our estimate would be 2. So we would be trying 28 times 2 in our margin to see if it worked. Okay? Similar with 16. Our first number is 1, but because the second number is 6, which is 5 or more, we're really going to be working with the number 2. Okay? We're going to treat it like we're working with 20. Okay? And then we'll see if 2 can go into the first number, and yes it can. So instead of doing 68, we're going to just stick with 6. Nice and easy. So we'll think through 2 times what is close to 6. Well, 2 times 3 is exactly 6. So my first estimate would be to use 3. All right? So again, remember, this is just our first step, is finding the estimate. All right? In the next video, we'll talk about what to do in the next step.